Hey, what's up, everybody? Darvell back again. So what we're going to talk about now is my experience in studying for the PMP exam. This is going to be a very dense, information-rich video. We're going to talk about a little bit of the nuances and the different pitfalls and just some of the quick things that I picked up that I think will be helpful to anyone, any aspirant shooting for getting the PMP. So quickly here, as you already know, after you take the class, you're going to be about 70% there. Like the classes, at least Andrew's, TIA, that class was very good. The Udemy class that I showed you earlier, it was really good. He has some great resources. And so I would say you're about 70% there, but it's a very soft 70%. You just know enough to be dangerous. You don't know enough to be competent. So you need to study. And so studying typically is primarily done through practice questions, then going out to study the material relevant to the practice questions you got wrong, then taking more questions. That's basically how people do it. Is you do the questions, you run through questions, covering the different topics, and then if you mess something up, go out, figure out what you didn't know, learn that either from the explanation tied to the question or from doing, some research through the various documents and study aids you have available to you, and then go and do more questions until you start to, do better, essentially. And so that's the loop people go through, and that's what I did. Additionally, there are I won't say a lot, but there are a good number of free mock exams online. There are free study aids online. There are several websites that are focused around PMP resources and information. And then Reddit, again, like I spoke about in the original video, people on Reddit like to share their notes at times, and they love to answer questions for each other to help each other succeed in this pursuit. So you do have a supportive community through the Reddit space. And then also there are some other websites that have their own communities that can help and be part of your tribe to making this journey successful. Within the space of the online exams and information, there are two paid options that stand out in particular. One is the TIA exam simulator. Again, that's part of the space that Andrew Ramdial, that's one of his products. And then also there's PMI Study Hall, which is an official platform from PMI to assist you with learning and studying for your PMP exam. Once you've done a couple hundred questions or what have you throughout the different topics, you're probably ready. So you're going to have to go through, not 10 questions. You're going to go through a couple hundred at least to be in a good ballpark to pass this exam, in my opinion. And that's what I did. I actually went through over 700 questions at least. And then what's on the exam, right? What are you going to actually run into, right? What are you going to have to actually answer? So it's going to be covered in total by another document that's been released by PMI that's called the Exam Content Outline. So let's look at that. So this is it, shorthand ECO. It's called the Project Management Professional Examination Content Outline. This says January 2021. It's still the most current version that I can tell. And it's the copy I downloaded when I was pursuing my certification. So it hasn't changed over the past several months. So what this does is it has a breakdown of kind of the content that's going to be in here. There's 3 domains: people, process, and business environment. And one of the things they do here in the introduction is they help you understand the gravity of this examination's construction. They do not take this lightly. They do not play about this. Listen, PMP exam, honestly, is essentially just under 4 hours. I went into the exam facility where I took my test, and I was just chit-chatting with one of the ladies, and actually, there are several other people there to take other exams, totally unrelated to PMP and PMI. We're talking about people taking nursing exams, GRE, GMAT, whatever. They're doing different exams. And she told me that I actually get 2 breaks, which is only common for longer exams. So for 4-hour exam, essentially, I had 2 10-minute breaks. There are doctors who go in there and they have exams that are like 8 hours from what I heard. And there are people who had exams that are only like 2 hours and they didn't get any breaks. So this exam was constructed very intentionally, and it's very, I want to say it's a serious exam. Let's put it that way, in my opinion. You may feel differently. You might feel like it was easy. You might feel like it ain't nothing. But in my opinion, I want you to take it seriously as I did, so that you can go in there expecting the worst, but you're going to kill it because you're going to come out the best because you plan for something that was going to be tough. And it's not necessarily easy. Not everybody passes it the first time, right? But a lot of people do. Anyway. So what they do at the top of this document is they just explain how they constructed. They said PMI offers professional certification for project managers known as the Project Management Professional, or PMP. PMI's examination development process stands apart from other certification programs. PMI aligns its process with certification industry best practices such as those found in the standards for educational and psychological testing. The PMP certification is also accredited against the internationally recognized ISO 9001 and ISO ANSI 17024 standards. And so they talk about how they went through various activities to prepare this document, this EOC, and the exam itself. And so the exam is administered through Pearson VUE's platform. If any of you are familiar with that, Pearson VUE. So you're either going to go to a Pearson VUE testing center, or you're going to use their platform on your personal computer to take the exam. And so here it shows you what's the breakdown of the content in the exam. 42% of the content is going to be on the people domain, so how you deal with people. 50% is going to be on the process domain, the various processes of project management. And then 8% is going to be on business environment, which is a combination of different things as far as regulatory, financial health, different politics or policy issues within the organization, even other competitive issues between companies in the market. So that's what business environment entails. So what they tell you here to be clear about is that project management, you have a traditional side and you have like an agile side. Agile people have heard of. You got Scrum, you got extreme programming, you got these other ideologies, philosophies around how to very quickly develop value, bring value forward in a project. So those are more agile approaches. And then traditional is the stuff you probably already think of when you think of project management. It's the Gantt chart. It's the things that go in a very certain sequence. It's the very defined budget. It's a very defined set of requirements, and you're not really wanting to change things if you can avoid it, but you do have a process for accepting change. Whereas agile is built around the idea of change being central to the necessity of delivering value. So Agile. It has agility to accept changes over time to make sure that we're always delivering the most value. So they say here in this statement that about half of the examination will represent predictive project management approaches, and the other half will represent agile or hybrid. Hybrid is a combination of both. Anyway, told you here that the exam is going to have 42, 50, and 8% respectively of people, process, and business environment. And what they do is they go ahead and they explain what are people, process, and business. So people involves managing conflict, leading a team, supporting team performance, empowering team members and stakeholders, ensuring team members and stakeholders are adequately trained. There's a lot of discussion about how you make sure your people are trained properly, building a team, addressing and removing impediments, obstacles, and blockers for the team, negotiating project agreements, collaborating with stakeholders, building shared understanding, engage and support virtual teams. So if you're remote workers, they're not physically in the building with you, they're not there to be with the rest of the people. How do you keep them engaged and everybody on the same page? Defining ground rules for the team. Mentoring stakeholders and promoting team performance through the application of emotional intelligence. All of that is in the people domain. I almost wish I had to mention this all up front about what is the PMP. That's why I like the PMP, because it's so well rounded, and this is all like leadership stuff, and that's half the exam, right? This is like how you manage people right there, 42%. So then you come back and you look at the processes. So that's domain number 2. So what is this process area involved with? It involves executing projects with urgency to deliver business value, managing communication, assessing and managing risks, engaging stakeholders, plan and manage budgets and resources, plan and manage schedule, plan and manage quality of products and deliverables, plan and manage the scope of the project, making sure you don't have scope creep and you have a proper breakdown of the work, integrating project planning activities, managing changes to the project, and planning and managing procurement, which is, essentially contracts and resources for contracted resources and whatnot. Artifacts, which are documents and records and things like that, determining appropriate project methodology, methods, and practices. Like, are you going to do it agile? Are you going to do it predictive? Or are you going to do it as a hybrid? Should you do internal or external resources, stuff like that? Establishing project governance structure, managing issues on the project, ensuring knowledge transfer for project continuity. So if you have people change in and out of the team, planning and managing project and phase closure or transitions. All of that was just process, right? How you process your way through from beginning to end to have a successful project. So that's 2 domains we just covered. And the third domain is the business environment, right? Planning and managing project compliance. So making sure you meet your security, health and safety, and regulatory compliance. Classifying compliance categories, using methods to support compliance, evaluating and delivering project benefits and value, investigating that the benefits have been identified properly, documenting agreement on ownership on benefits, these type of things, evaluating and addressing external business environment changes for impact on scope. Like I mentioned earlier, external business environments is a big section of business environment domain. And so surveying changes to external business environments such as regulations, technology changes, geopolitical threats or advantages, market changes and shifts like your competition, assessing and prioritizing the impact on project scope and backlog accordingly and what have you according to that. And then supporting organization change, right? Assessing the culture of the company, the organization, evaluating the impact of organizational changes against your project and determining actions that are required, and then evaluating the impact of the project on the organization, right? The value it brings. So that's what's in the exam. It's going to cover these type of topics across 180 questions. The exam is 180 questions. And so, that's essentially what you're going to be doing. That's what you're practicing to get ready for. It's a sit down for, I think it's essentially 3 hours and 50 minutes. You're getting ready to sit down for 3 hours and 50 minutes to do this. Okay. So that's what's in the exam. And so let me explain a little bit more about what I did though personally. So my journey for studying began after my application was approved. I took a little bit of a break because I had done the 35-hour class over a couple months. And then I got the application ready and I got it approved. And now I'm at a standpoint where, okay, I'm approved to go. I got a year to sit for the exam. What am I going to do? All right, I'm going to go ahead and start studying. So first thing I did is I started some online free mock exams. I felt they're a little inadequate personally. I wasn't really 100% confident with the material. I wasn't sure that it was like the best and latest and greatest type stuff because it's free, but more importantly, not just because it's free, I just wanted to be 100% certain that I was getting the best, most accurate stuff to what the exam would actually have. And some of the questions I found online felt a little basic sometimes. And even when they were advanced, I didn't want to start studying to something I wouldn't actually see on the exam, right? So I got a little skittish and I backed out of the free stuff. And the first thing I tried was TIA's online exam simulator. I spoke on that earlier, and I'll show you right here what that exam simulator looks like. Or rather the site for it on TIA's website. So they have the PMP exam simulator, the only PMP exam simulator that offers detailed video explanations of each question. And so after each question, they give you a little video where Andrew explains, why you should choose which answer on this particular question. And he goes through that for all of the questions, I believe. So that means you got over 8 hours of video across 6 mock exams. 6 is a good number of exams. And so you got everything covered in agile, predictive, and hybrid scenarios. So that's the PMP exam simulator. That's what I started off with in about May. And, I was doing that. It was okay. But I developed a little bit of a concern around the questions. Again, I was a little paranoid personally. I was like, you know what? I really want to have something where I know without a doubt this is the greatest and latest and closest I get to the real exam. So I decided to just also look into if PMI had any official questions themselves that, you can buy. I had heard there were some packages available to get a couple hundred questions for like $80 or something. So I went poking around to look at that and look for those questions. Again, my concern just felt more like I just want to get the closest to the real thing as possible. And to be clear, I love Andrew for his videos, his contributions to the community. His Udemy course that I took to actually get qualified to sit for the exam. I have no issues with AR. I just felt that I wanted to get closer to PMI to make sure I hit this nail on the head as hard and as accurately as I could. So what I did is I actually went over to Reddit and I learned about Study Hall. And so Study Hall was like basically one of the newest, if not the newest product that PMI offers to help PMP aspirants actually prepare for the exam. They also offer some of the legacy stuff, I think, where they had the packages of like 200 questions you could just get access to online. You pay a fee and you get access to these question packages. But these are from old exams, but they're still relevant to the type of way they ask the questions in today's exam. However, Study Hall seemed like it was a lot more well-rounded, and it also actually had it had more questions in it than those other packages. And so I was really interested in it. And so Study Hall Essentials is what I obtained. Study Hall is a learning tool that contains practice exam questions and exams. And so if you look down here, they have two versions. They have an Essentials and they have a Plus, Study Hall Plus. And so I got Essentials. And what happens is in here you get practice exams with 175 questions on them. The actual exam was 180 questions. That's because 5 of those 180 questions are not really counting against your score or for your score. Those are fresh questions they've just written, and they're testing to see how well people do with those fresh questions. They're sprinkled in there randomly. You wouldn't know if it was a fresh question or not. So they don't count against your score. That's why they tell you it's 180 questions on the actual exam, but that's also why their online system only shows 175. But anyway, there are 2 full-length exams at 175 questions in Essentials, but you get 5 if you do Plus. Mini exam, they have mini practice exams of 15 questions each. They have 15 of those in Essentials. You get 20 with Plus. And then extra practice questions, there's 200 extra practice questions in the Essentials. And subscription, and then for the Plus you get 250. Apparently there's some webinars that are included over there, and then there's some other stuff that's common between the two. I'm gonna be honest with you. Basically, you're gonna go in there and there's gonna be a section that's called practice questions, and it's gonna break down the practice questions by every different type of subtopic you need to know for the exam. I just went through every one of those in sequence as they were listed and just did every question. And then if you get it wrong, it gives you if you get that question wrong, it gives you an explanation. And that's what I decided to do. So although I got TIA Exam Simulator in May, by June, I had gone and gotten Study Hall as well. And I completed 100% of those practice questions. That actually added up to over 700 questions between all of those practice questions. And that doesn't include the exams. Okay, so I went through over 700 questions using Study Hall before I even did any of their full-length 4-hour practice exams, right? Then I did those 2 full-length exams, and then I did the 15 mini exams as well. So I did all of this stuff in preparation. Now, while I was doing these practice exams, I also did some of the, after I did the practice exam questions, and then as I started doing the full length, after I did the practice questions, and then I started doing the full length exams, I also began listening to David McLachlan's 150 PMBOK question and 200 agile question YouTube videos in the car during long commutes and in the gym. These were extremely helpful as well, because the things that I was struggling to understand from the explanations in Study Hall, which, by the way, let me be very clear about Study Hall's explanations. They're not all consistent. This is, again, Study Hall, I appreciate it. It allowed me to pass the exam, right? A Study Hall was worth the money. Yes, Essentials was definitely worth the $50 for 3 months of access. However, and also TIA Exam Simulator is about the same price. The Study Hall, the explanations and questions are written by various people from what I can tell. These are people who I think volunteer for PMP or PMI. And so they are very well experienced professionals in their field, nothing against them, nothing like that. I will just point out, you may notice that there's inconsistencies in the depth of the explanations behind each of the questions, because if you get the question wrong or right, they explain why the answer is the way it is, so that you understand the basis for why you should have chosen that answer on that question. So it is very educational. It's good for developing your understanding. So this 700 plus questions and then another 200 for each exam, essentially 175 for each exam. This is outstanding exposure to getting things right and understanding the PMP mindset, the PMI expectations on the exam. However, all that being said, I still needed some understanding on some things. So I started listening to David McLachlan's videos, and I completed about 50% of each of those videos overall, if not more. And I was able to learn a little bit. I'm not going to say it's a whole lot, but it was definitely worthwhile to just listen to him as I'm doing other things where I wouldn't have been listening to anything educational at all. And it did help a little bit with understanding more about the project manager mindset, or the PMP mindset, that PM mindset. That's very critical, because you're going to be presented with a lot of scenarios, a lot of situational questions where you have to figure out, well, how would a PMP handle this? And you're going to understand what the priorities in the mindset, the psychology of a PMP should be. And that's going to help you select the right answer in most of these scenarios. And also, I will tell you that there are various levels of questions within study hall. So study hall's questions are easy, medium, difficult, and then expert. And I promise you, them expert questions is, again, study hall is a great tool. The consensus on Reddit is that the expert questions can be about hit or miss in terms of if you can ever get them right. So don't feel bad about the expert questions beating you up. 30% of the study hall questions were difficult to understand the explanations of. And the other 70% were good enough. So despite that, and despite the challenges around the expert questions, I average about 70% across all the questions between the practice quizzes and the exams. And my range on my correctness on each of those was anywhere from 60 to 90%. The current, and this is very, very time sensitive, as of September 2024, the current thought in the PMP aspirant community is that if you're doing at least 60% correct on these exams and quizzes on study hall, you should be good to go for the exam. You're doing okay. It's just like engineering. Unfortunately, if any of you have gone through engineering school, the median the median and the averages for the tests are really low. Like you're talking like 70s are typically like your B's, right? Or maybe a low A, depending on the curve, right? The curves are really, at least in my experience in various school or my school, the curve can be pretty substantial in the core engineering classes, which are the most challenging. So anyway, similar thing here, 60, 70%, you're actually fine. Now, after I got through my 700 questions and I did the mock exams, the full length ones, and I did the mini exams, I actually went back to exam number 1 and I reset it and I took it a second time. And when I took exam number 1 that second time, I was actually sleepy. And yet my test score still came out to be within 1% of my original score. So I think the first time I was at 73%, the second time I came in at 72%. So at that point, I surmised that I was ready to take this exam. I wasn't going to get no better. So one other thing I did at the last minute is I did go out and look up what I was trying to. There were, at some point in time in the past, I had learned about on the Reddit forum that there was a gentleman, or a person, let me not say gentleman, there was an individual who published some notes that they had authored on the PMP based on, the latest PMBOK material, or the project management body of knowledge, PMBOK. They're known as the third rock notes. And I went ahead and grabbed those and looked through those. And there's a little bit of information in there that I didn't know yet. They're pretty good, very well put together. I knew most of what was there, but there are a few points that helped me out. And so I took those particular slides or those pages from the PDF and I printed those out for myself. And I used those to help aid my final study. So again, when we talk about, preparing for this exam, I know this video is longer. It's over 20 minutes. The thing here about preparing is it's really going to be about sitting down. At least for me, it was sitting down with study hall and going through these questions and getting through all of them. And I started that in like early June of 2024. And I took the exam essentially 2 months later. Now just over 2 months later, like 2.5 months later, I took the exam. So that would have been June, all of July, then half of August, and then I took the exam. So again, you may or may not need to do as much as I did. Some people might take longer to do them all. Some people may be able to get it knocked out, very quickly. Fine. There's no grading of people's, process. People got lives. But I think that the study hall platform is really good. Probably one of the best things you can do, probably next to the TIA exam simulator, which has the videos to explain them. And I believe there's maybe a forum or a community where you might be able to ask questions and follow up with the videos outside of just watching them. And so on the TIA side, that is. But for study hall, basically you can read the question, answer the question, and it will give you an explanation of the right answer and why the other answers are not correct or not the best ones. There's also games on study hall and some other elements. I didn't do any of that stuff. All I did was strictly the questions, just so you know. I did not do the games. I did not read a lot of the material or watch any of the video. I watched a few of the videos, but they really didn't seem to add a lot of value for me. So there's that. Anyway, that's how I study for the exam. That's how I suggest other people study for the exam. There are some other tools out there that are available that I should flash up on the screen real quick that I thought were pretty good. There's this Ricardo Vargas PMBOK flow thing here. Let me throw that up. I think it's pretty good. It helps kind of visualize the process flow between the different steps in project management as defined by PMBOK. So you can see starting off in an initiation phase, then moving to the planning phase, the different steps in there, and then going down to executing and all of these things, monitoring and controlling. I really like this when I was really kind of confused about how these things go together. That helped. So check his stuff out there. And I thought I had one other thing that was helpful. I don't think I have anything that's not material from Andrew's Udemy course or the actual PMBOK itself. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it that I got right now. But like I said, like Google is a huge asset. It's greatly your friend in this pursuit. You can Google stuff, find all the answers you need. Some of the questions sometimes, as far as questions in study hall, you can find on free websites too. So you can find other people talking about them on Reddit as well. So if you have something that's particularly challenging, drop it in Google and see what information's already been discussed on it. So anyway, I'm going to land my plane there. We're at 27 minutes here. This is the longest video. These videos were not supposed to be this long, but I talk a lot and I really want to share everything I learned. Overall, I say just do study hall essentials and make sure you do every question, every exam, and even reset one of the exams and go back and retake it. And one important point you're going to hear about the exams on, in general, in terms of practice exams, is make sure you take the exam as if you're actually taking it in a examination center or you're taking the real thing at home. When you do an exam center or you do it at home, you got to sit there and you got to push through each one of those sections. They're broken up into three sections of 60 questions. 3 sections of 60 questions each. And so you can take a 10-minute break between each section, but you go 60, then 120 you've completed. Then the last portion, you're going to complete that last 60, going to bring you to 180 questions. And so that's what I did. I actually did it at work. After I was done with my day, I went to a conference room, kind of locked myself in there for essentially 3.5, 4 hours and just pushed through it. I also did it at home at my dining room table, pushed through that in about 4 hours. And so just sitting there and being used to sitting there and going through these questions and taking that break, just like you would at the exam center, or if you're at home doing it online, that's going to help prepare you physically and mentally for what you're going to go through on exam day. So I think that can be helpful. Other than that, take copious notes. One thing I didn't mention is that during the class that you're going to do online or in person, take notes from that. I have like 35 pages of notes in Google Docs, and a lot of it's copy and paste from the exam from the practice question explanations from study hall, as well as my handwritten notes from sitting in front of the TV watching Andrew's videos for the Udemy course that I took earlier on. And so all of this stuff accumulates and I end up reading over it, a week and a half before I sit down for the exam, and then again that week before the exam, just to refresh some of the terminology, some of the different things, make sure I connect the I's with the T's and the T's with the O's, as you know. So those are the things that I did. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to drop them in the comment section. And, as I said, or I'm going to show in all these videos, I might have gotten something wrong. So please check the description box for updates and the first pinned comment under this video for updates. And so That's probably something you want to read before you watch the video so that you know going in that I'm going to make a mistake on some topic. But other than that, I appreciate you for watching this long video to learn a little bit about how I studied for the PMP and how I prepared to pass the exam. So thank you, and I'll catch you in the next one.